City Jazz Sessions is about great music, arts, and entertainment. We are located in St. Louis, Missouri, and available to performance art lovers worldwide. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. You can email us at cityjazzsessions@gmail.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is another edition of City Jazz Sessions. Today, along with my co host Leon, we are going to have a chat with Mr. Joseph Hanrahan. He is the artistic director of the Midnight Company. Joe is a playwright, he's a director, and he's done a lot of great things. So check him out at themidnightcompany.com. So, Joe, we're going to talk about this production you got coming up. Tell us about it. This thing called St. Louis Woman.
Yeah, it's a new show. It's an original show. I wrote it. It is a play with music, and it's a one-woman show. It features LAKA. Many people may know her as a singer. That's how I was introduced to her. She saw some of the theater work I did. We liked what each other was doing, and somehow a collaboration began. And this concept was developed, St. Louis Woman. It really, we think, is a unique concept, and it honors some of the great women that came out of St. Louis and produced world-class music and dance and poetry. LAKA tells these stories. She sings, she dances, she tells the poetry, and we think it's going to be a very exciting and entertaining and educational show for folks, even though somewhat steeped in St. Louis history.
Awesome. So I said this thing, but you know what I'm thinking right now is this is going to be a big thing, especially for LAKA and St. Louis and yourself and the artistic audience here. So I'm looking forward to it. Leon, what do you think?
Well, for me, I don't do a lot of plays, but I think it's great. I'm really looking forward to seeing, as we continue to focus on art in St. Louis. I'm really looking forward to seeing more things develop. So tell us a little bit about the thought process that went into selecting this play, Joe, and what was the birth of it? What was the genesis and how you got from there to a finished product?
The play was really sprung out of my admiration and desire to see if there was any place to work with LAKA. I admired her talent so much. It wasn't so much a desire to tell a story about St. Louis or its music or its women, but it's more, I want to work with this person. She's so good. And she wanted to work with me and learn some of the stuff I could do about theater. So it's been a slow process. We've been working on it for a long time. It's a new play, and it needs and deserves all the care that time will take. We've chosen the woman. We've developed the stories. We've chosen the music that we're going to put forth, and we've worked very closely on this together. I'm the writer, but LAKA has been an editor. She has great story instincts and great sensitivity to the sometimes delicate subject matter we're dealing with. These women that we're dealing with, they eventually went on to conquer the world, but they grew up under many harsh conditions. I had a lot of things to struggle with, and because of that, we also think this show is going to be kind of inspiring, not only to kids, but hopefully to everyone, to see what these women at many stages of their lives had to overcome to reach their goals and success.
Excellent. So one of the things we've tried to have Joe on before, and we've had some difficulties, and we appreciate Joe's patience, and he's come back with us to talk about the play. And so we first want to say really appreciate that. We appreciate your patience. So some of these questions I have posed to him before, but because we lost all of that material, and I think it's pretty important, we're going to go back through some of it. So, Joe, you decided that you wanted to collaborate with LAKA, and stage performance, as far as musicals, and stage performance as far as plays go, there's a different skill set that's necessary. So I'm guessing that LAKA's skill set needed some help to get her to the point of where you felt it was stage ready.
Yeah, especially because she was tackling a couple different areas of performance that she'd never touched before. I mean, she's a singer, and she is a fabulous singer, and I think her song talents are going to be seen and appreciated in this show as much as ever, because she's singing songs from so many different eras and so many different styles. It's really remarkable, and her singing is really great. But also, she'd never acted before. Mm-hmm. And so, but we knew what kind of story we wanted to tell. We knew there was going to be a performance per se. So we've worked very closely on that. LAKA did something as an actor which I'd never seen before. It probably has happened. I'm sure it has, but I never encountered it. But it just showed her work ethic and her determination. She recorded on an audio device on her phone all of our rehearsals, so that when she'd go home and she'd listen to what she was doing, she'd listen again to what I was saying, and she helped develop her stage performance that way. And then dancing, of course, she's a natural dancer. She dances for fun, and she dances on stage when she sings, but she'd never been choreographed. And there were a number of dances in this show that these women did that we needed to show the very specific style of the dance. Uh-huh. We had a great choreographer, a woman named Ashley Tate, of the Ashley Leon Dance Company, and she worked with LAKA. They took video of it. LAKA has worked very hard with Ashley and herself to perfect these bits of dance. So I think it's a growth experience for LAKA in these different areas, and doing a big show like this by herself. And it is a new experience and growth experience for me too. All of the theater I've done over many, many years have been straight plays and comedies. I've never really touched music in a play, but I'm really gratified that I'm able to do this one.
So are you looking forward to, possibly doing more this type material, or was this kind of a one-off?
No, I'm going to do more. In preparation for this, I saw LAKA do her cabaret shows a number of times. I saw a number of other cabaret performers. So I am delving into that area. Next year, these shows aren't announced yet, but next year I'm creating 2 original cabaret shows that'll be seen at the Blue Strawberry in 2023.
Okay, yeah. And so, go ahead. Did you have something more?
Well, yeah. Speaking of Blue Strawberry, the first time I heard LAKA sing was there when guitarist Ron Jackson from New York came here, and she came out and she got up on stage and sang a song. And what blew me away was the song she sang, because I hadn't fit that into her genre, but she sang "Fly Me to the Moon," and I'm like, okay, that's different, but I like that kind of music,
Yeah.
So she definitely has versatility and variety in her repertoire.
That'll be illustrated in this show. She goes from classic tunes about St. Louis women, Frankie and Johnny and St. Louis blues, to the gospel of Willie Mayford Smith, the variety of songs that Josephine Baker sang, from the remarkable French song J'adore Amour, which was Baker's signature song. And when LAKA sings that, it is a voice right out of the 30s. It transports you in time. She'll sing a Gershwin tune, and then she'll finish with the first act with Josephine Baker's song she did at her final concert. It was a magnificent concert in Rome, out of Paris, 4 days before her death, paid for by Jackie Kennedy and Princess Grace, her friends. And she sang, had a big concert, and the song we're going to do from it is her just march-like version, her strong version of Bob Dylan's "The Times They Are A-Changin'," which was right up her alley of protest and civil action. And then the next act we'll get a little more contemporary with Tina Turner and Ann Peebles and Fontella Bass. And of course, LAKA knocks those out.
Wow. So what's your projection? I mean, I know you really just getting started, but how long before you see her on Broadway?
I think it'll be a little while. LAKA seems to be very happy in St. Louis right now. I think she's very, in a smart way and deliberate way, she's building her reputation and her bag of tricks. And I think this show is it's going to be a major addition to that. But she's, in this last year, she's popped around in New York and Las Vegas and Nashville to appear. And I'm sure she's going to be continuing that.
Sure. I think she has great business sense as well.
Yeah. When I first started working with her, I had a good notion that she'd be able to handle this show because I got the impression that she was very smart and very hardworking, but I was underestimating her. She's very, very smart and very, very hardworking.
Right.
So now,
sounds like we got a team here.
Yeah, I think we've got a good team on this.
Okay. Leon?
no, so I know she would not have been the first new person that you worked with. How does your style of preparing a performer do you think is? First, let me try to understand what do you think are some of the different styles that directors use in order to prepare someone to go on stage?
Well, a couple of very distinct ones, and there's a wide variety of things that directors might do. One thing I try to do, and I think certainly helpful, it's because any actor, when they start a play, they're new in a sense. They're doing a new character and a new setting and new words with new people. So it's always a little unnerving, even if an actor's got a lot of experience. But I always try to prepare the movement, the traffic, and the flow of a show very carefully. So when I walk in on a first rehearsal, and I had this with LAKA, even though she was one person, I said, LAKA, you will start here. At this point, you will move over there. At this point, you will move over there. And I'll do that for whenever I block a show, which they say putting that show up on its feet. Now, there are other directors, a style that I don't like as an actor or a director, but you run into a lot of directors that on a first rehearsal, they just say, well, get up and start talking, move around, see where it feels good to go, follow your instincts. And I think there's, some value in that, probably certainly with certain groups and certain plays, but that's not the way I like to do it. I like to have things carefully thought out for any kind of show I prepare.
Okay. So where did you get your feet wet in directing?
I didn't get into college per se at all until into theater until I was in college when someone asked me to be in a play. But I very quickly took to it and really started doing things. And very early in college, I think I wound up minoring in it. And part of the process was directing a show. So I jumped into that and directed one. And I've probably done more acting than directing over the years, but I've certainly done my share of both.
So what do you think it was that person saw in you that made them invite you to the play?
Honestly, I think because I was small. The play was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. It's a musical based on the Peanuts cartoons. And it's a great little thing, but I think we had a fairly short cast, and it may have been that.
So you physically fit, but it worked out.
It did. We had a good show. My first director, who I worked with for several shows after that, was very, very good. Taught me everything I needed, in my first few shows. And the sound of that applause is pretty addictive.
I bet.
Yeah.
So that's something that has interested me. Why live theater rather than taped? Why do you prefer that medium?
Well, I don't prefer it. I like both. But the fact is, it takes a bit of money to do something on film that looks decent. A stage production, as you may have noticed in the St. Louis area, there's a lot of them pop up. You can get a stage production up on its feet within a month and tell the story that you want. A cliche about theater versus film is that in film, you see a lot of visual storytelling. There's a lot of things where characters don't talk. They're either driving somewhere or you see visual reactions to tell the story. In a play, it's all about dialogue. So that especially when you're dealing with a topic, like a social topic or even a personal topic, you'll have the time to to see a lot of to watch and to follow the story with a lot more dialogue and back and forth and insight that you might always get on a film, which is more visual and action oriented. But I do like to say that theater is 3D and HD too.
Yeah, awesome. So about the music, are these musicians you're working with here guys are you familiar with? Pretty much, you know them well.
They're guys that LAKA knows well. They back her up pretty regularly. We have our music director and keyboard players Corey Patterson, and our drummer, or I should say percussionist, is Gabe Bonfili, and they're both doing remarkable work. They have to play a variety of styles. Gabe plays everything from rock and roll drums to African drumming, and Corey on his keyboard, which can generate a lot of different sounds, is generating a wide array of and they know LAKA well, and they're able to I think work with her as on these songs and in the performances.
Sure.
Now, what I know, what some of the things that I've heard as far as production goes, you're the crew that you put together. Was this a large crew? Considering the size of your production company, was this considered a large crew to pull this off, or was this just within a smaller production, I guess?
Yeah, even though it's a one-person show, it's a bigger crew. We have two musicians, and as you know, I haven't done much music. We have a guy named Michael Perkins who does video projection. There's going to be slides behind LAKA and video that will kind of help illustrate the story and the settings for the story. We have a lighting designer, of course. Lighting is critical, and a production manager who has to help put the whole thing together. We have a woman doing double duty. Liz Henning is an expert costumer. She's also going to stage manage. And we're putting the last couple pieces in place right now, a sound engineer to work with her as the show progresses, and a dresser to help LAKA backstage with the costume changes. So it's a sizable crew for us.
Okay. So now just give us the schedule and tell us about a little bit about the venue.
Yeah. This is going to take place at the Dot Sac. It's a beautiful theater. It's on Locust, and it's on Locust just west. Just east of Grand. It's where Locust dead ends heading towards Grand. So it's kind of a semi cul-de-sac block or two. There's plenty of parking. It has its own parking lot, and it's a very safe area. There's not a lot of street traffic. So you get to park right in front of the theater. And the Dot Sac, it's a big building, a car dealership, I understand. There's offices there now, but on the first floor is the theater, and it's for us, it has a various size. I think it's going to be a 100-seat theater. And in the lobby is a fully functioning and open bar that will, folks can get refreshments before the show and at an intermission. And for our Sunday matinees, if people are interested, it's in the building. In the lobby is a little restaurant called Turn, 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 which specializes in breakfast and brunch. So that'll be open on the day of our two Sunday matinees. We have two Sunday matinees on the 9th and the 16th. But for the general run, we run from the 6th to the 22nd, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays at 8 o'clock with two Sunday matinees. And tickets can be purchased at metrotix.com. And I'm sure there'll be some, if you just forget about that, there should be some available at the door.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that I had last time and that I remember is, what is the live action or the live entertainment scene like here in St. Louis?
Well, if you ask entertainment, it's just enormous. I mean, the music to start. There's so much music choices every night. Theater is bubbling again after the pandemic. There's a lot of theater in town. I mean, we have the big ones, the Rep and the Black Rep and the Muni and the Fox, and then there's a big group, many, I'd say 30 or more. It's hard to tell at one time, theater companies that are all producing or on the verge of producing. And these are medium companies who do musicals, who do kind of contemporary, adventurous stuff, who do classic stuff. there's a lot of energy and a lot of talent in theater here. We have a couple of challenges though in terms of being an entertainment scene when it comes to theater. One is the lack of coverage. I mean, that's why I'm so grateful you guys are talking to us and talking to us beyond just the timetable, because we just don't have enough coverage. We have some critics, but as you know, the Post-Dispatch stopped printing reviews. So that was the one review that kind of, I think, made some difference in tickets for us. But there are other reviews, but mainly theater people read those. But there's not a lot of other coverage. I mean, I think an art like theater needs not only a review, but it needs some perspective to help guide the audience as to what's happening and where it's happening. The other challenge we have as a theater community, and we may have talked about this the last time we did, was unlike New York or Chicago or maybe a couple other cities, you have to drive to see theater here. A real theater town, I think, that can thrive is a place where you can walk there or take a cab, you know. But in St. Louis, you got to drive everywhere. That hurts theater a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it probably hurts music too, but
yeah, somewhat. I mean, theater is a little more of a
little more
total,
intimate.
total destination. I got to be there then, and that's where and I have to. Music is hopefully, I like it. It's somewhat of a drop-in thing sometimes, yeah. But somewhat. I saw a concert last night at the Stiefel, and it was packed. It was packed, wow. Full house.
So as a theater company, you don't actually own a venue.
No, we do have been a little more regular at the places we've been playing the last few years. A couple of Kranzberg spaces and a place called the Chapel. Those are where we've been doing our shows. But in the early days of this company, and this is our 25th year, in the early days we traveled all over. We did shows in bars, in abandoned breweries, warehouses, in churches, in TV studios, all over. Judy Newmark had a comment when she was the Post-Dispatch writer and critic about our company. She said, the Midnight Company recognizes that theater is an art, not a building. But it does hurt the people who follow us a little bit. Folks can't always rely where we're going to be. They have to kind of keep their eyes open.
So I think you mentioned that there were 30-something production companies?
At least, yeah.
So that has to create some level of competition, and some level of collaboration. Which side does the St. Louis scene fall on?
Competition, absolutely. The collaborations at the lower levels among the actors and technicians who maybe work with different companies and know each other. And certain people have, and there's a couple companies that I've worked with and there's been some collaboration, but for the most part, it's competition because we're all fighting for the same small audience. And we're all trying to grab a share of mind and trying to catch the attention of people to come to our shows. So the groups tend to get a little insular and kind of defend their own territory and then, in their own way, go after their audiences, all trying to survive. So it's not collaborative enough. And we may have mentioned last time, although I may not go on as much of a rant as I did last time, but, I was always hoping you'd hope the collaboration would stem from the top. And I think a couple of the top theaters could do more in terms of helping spread the wealth, spread the word about the theater in town. Because I think any person who gets interested in theater, it's good for all theaters. So if we can get people to our folks and say, hey, there's a lot of other interesting stuff going on, I think it can only be for the best.
So with companies trying to do different types of productions, I'm sure that each production company doesn't always have all of the talent that it needs to pull off a production that they'd like to do. So what do they do in those cases?
Well, every company will either audition or start, combing the streets for the types of people they're looking for, age, whatever, gender sometimes. But there's a lot of talent in town, and so generally a company, if they have auditions, they will get enough people to fill a cast. And whether they're the best people, that's all in the casting. And it's like sometimes they're great, and sometimes folks, these companies who are kind of insular will fill a cast with some friends, but generally there's enough talent to kind of fill the spots, even though it may not always be the right talent.
So St. Louis couple of, I think, well, as far as I understand, the big players are the Fox, the Muni. Um, how receptive are they to organizations that are smaller, that put on productions?
Well, I think they totally ignore them. I mean, I'm not sure with other groups, but I do know, and I talked about this before, but I've tried to lure the artistic directors of not just the big but the medium companies to my shows, and I'm sure everybody does that. We're all trying to build audience, and uh, theater people are very reluctant to kind of leave their kind of castle and visit anyone else. Um, so I think every theater company says we just have to fight so hard for what we have. We can't afford to really do a lot for anybody else.
Yeah, that's a shame because it's not quite like that with music. Guys have a lot of more mutual support, come to each other's gigs and things like that.
Yeah.
It's more of
Yeah.
almost a club, like, the guys hang out. But
Yeah.
now you're on your website, midnightcompany.com.
Yeah.
When people go there, is there a way they can follow you, or is there a newsletter or something you send out from there?
Not really. We just kind of build each show piece at a time. We do have a mailing list that anybody who buys a ticket to one of our shows goes on that mailing list, and they will get notices about shows in the email. So folks can always be added to that. And our website is basically a history. It has a history of all of our shows. It has our scripts on there. It has some video, and also has it has a news section talking about things coming up that may be beyond, just the immediate future. It also has a blog that I would hope folks would visit from time to time, where I write about the state of St. Louis theater and kind of give my opinions.
Well, share some of those. So, we've talked about the collaboration and, things starting at the top. What are some of the other things that you think would help improve the state of theater here in St. Louis, in the St. Louis area?
Well, I believe two things immediately, and they both are kind of out of my hands, and it's really easy to blame the media or the press, but we need to have more than just reviewers. We need a couple of reporters. And you'll see an occasional article like in Go Today, Go Magazine and St. Louis Magazine, Go Magazine in the Post-Dispatch. There's an article in St. Louis Woman by Calvin Wilson in which he talks a little about the show and interviewed LAKA and myself. We need a lot more of that. And we also need some courageous reporters. I think people deserve to know what companies are doing. They need to have an educated opinion about this company's doing this, it's moving this way, it's moving that way, it's going forward, it's going back, it's trying new things. The audience needs to see these theaters and the people with them as personalities. In terms of catching this attention, I always used to think St. Louis, the only stars here were sports stars and newscasters, but nobody watches TV anymore. So the stars now are sports stars and the restaurant people. The restaurant people have their own magazines. They got all kind of columns about them and their personalities, and they talk about the direction of their cooking and their new styles, and that's exactly the kind of thought and concern we need for theaters and the personalities and the kind of work they're trying to do. And then the second thing is, and this is a very simple thing, and I actually tried to get the rep to do it once, was if either of you are visiting St. Louis this weekend and you think about going to a play, there's not one place in town where you can go in the media and see a list of plays happening this weekend. I mean, you can search one by one and just ask questions on Google or whatever, but there is not one place that lists theater. I mean, I know RFT lists music and there's maybe a few other things here and there like that, but that's really sad that no media will do that. And I asked the rep to do it at one point. I said, you got a program the size of a Bible. Give us one page, just give us one page that'll talk about the theater coming up in the area. I think you owe it to us. So those two things would be a great, great start. It would just broaden our audience. And I think the broader the audience would get, I think the more the theater companies would tend to say, hey, we don't have to like undercut each other.
Right. It wouldn't be so selfish. They'd be more collaborative.
Yeah.
And that's something I find, I guess I find interesting. I don't know, has social media helped the um,
Yeah,
theater in
I
St.
think
Louis. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
in a sense right now, and I don't know how we did it before, but social media is maybe the only medium in which we can sell our theater. I mean, none of us can, except the big guys, can afford radio advertising or TV advertising or print advertising. That's what the big guys do.
Right.
But none of us can. So, but in Facebook, there's about half a dozen local groups that are all theater related, from auditions to just fans to just kind of different critics, different pages with a lot of so I think most theater companies just tend to hit those pages real hard and say, here's what's happening, we're coming up, watch for this. We all do a little mailing of our own of different kinds, and I'm a big fan of old fashioned postcards, just because you could have one in your hand and you meet somebody and say, here, take it. But other than that, I think those media things would help collaboration, certainly.
So is getting sponsors for a particular play, is that a part of some of the things that you're doing to try to defray some of the costs of these?
We actually, for the first time, are, because of LAKA's reputation and her fans and her past sponsors, we're inviting some sponsors in for this show. Most theater companies will sell advertising, which is a really significant income raiser for them. They will sell ads that will go in their programs, and you see them, and that adds to their revenue, certainly. But sponsors are something new to us, but we're hoping that'll help the budget on this show.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as a small shop, people have to double up on roles and responsibilities.
Well, certainly responsibilities. I mean, I'm a one-man band here with my company, so I'm producing the show and I'm doing the marketing and I'm directing. Yeah, but so that's why you try to bring other talented people to fill in those other roles. Yeah, yeah. And certainly when it comes to big shows, I mean, double casting is something that even the rep has done. Someone plays 2 or 3 roles to save cast money. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the ticket prices and I'm thinking, wow, a big production, it would be hard to make a lot of money with these prices being fairly reasonable.
Yeah, I think the prices are very reasonable, compared to some other theater companies in town and other entertainment opportunities. There's a kind of a rule of thumb that unless you're a big Broadway, hit, there's a rule of thumb in theater that even if you sell out, it only pays for about 70% of your costs. So that's why so many theaters, go after government funding and grants and that kind of thing, and that's what they need to meet their budget.
Yeah. Have you been successful tapping into those government funds?
No, I've never tried. I am one of the only for-profit theater companies in town. Everybody else is not for profit, but what that means is I don't ask for money. Oh. I consider it a privilege to tell the stories I do, to present the plays I do, and so I use my own money to do that. We always try to break even. I've only made money on a couple shows in 25 years, but it's always been affordable.
So, Joe, I don't know if you have any real control over that, but your light is kind of escaping, and you're just slowly receding into the dark.
I know it is. Let me see if I can get some light on me here.
Okay. That'll work.
Sun must be going down.
Improvising. That's the way to go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so anything else that we need to know about this fantastic one-woman show? We know LAKA personally since she works with us, but what else can you say about LAKA?
I think I've said a lot. She has worked so hard for this. It's a one-person show. When we first started talked about it, I kind of tossed it off kind of easily because I've done one-person shows, and I thought, oh yeah, sure you can. But then I think as LAKA has come to grasp what it is, she's realized that she's kind of gritted her teeth and jumped in. I think she's going to provide a distinct a distinct and different personality to all these women and their stories. But at the same time, as one person doing it, you're going to see the unity, I think, of what we're calling a St. Louis Woman. You know, it's kind of a special place, and the people who came out of here had to fight for. Fight for their success in spite of, or sometimes because of it. Some of the hard times that push these women, I think, may not have happened the same way elsewhere, and so it pushed them that way. But I do think at the end of the show, what we're hoping is going to happen is there's going to be a real new appreciation for a side of the arts that came out of St. Louis, the women that did it, and the paths they had to take. And I think maybe for the first time they'll be identified as such. So we think it's a show not only about great performance, but about the city and about the people who lived here. And you know, I think our city is looking for a little bit of a rebirth. And you know, one of the best ways maybe to go back and see some of the greatness that the city stems from.
Yeah, well, let's just hope it has that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So part of any kind of community is that you can develop talent, and everyone is ambitious, and they're trying to, you know, further their craft. So losing talent to larger markets or you know, different environments, you know, what is that like here in St. Louis? Do we tend to maintain most of the people that we raise, you know, that we teach that craft, or are we losing them to markets outside of St.
I think
Louis?
we've lost them. I mean, a lot of these women we talk about, they look for the first chance to get out at a certain point and do their stuff. We've seen a lot of other examples of people who've left. And I'll tell you, I mean, when I've talked to younger actors who say, should I move? Should I go someplace, Chicago, somewhere I'll say, man, it's tough, but you can be the best actor in St. Louis. It's like being the best downhill snow skier or the best surfer. There's no mountains here. There's no waves here. I mean, careers and shows and companies, I think they reach a ceiling and stop here, and they go nowhere else. They don't break out, and that's somewhat due to the press, I think, you know, and somewhat due to the I don't know if we're going to go into the long-standing city tradition here of city fathers who have kind of always kept a firm hand on St. Louis and not wanting us to get really too far out of our place, you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the things that I think we talked about before was the difference in, you know, seeing a play in New York and seeing a play in St. Louis. You're going to see a different. They're going to present it differently. They're going to take more risks, and we're more conservative. Is that pretty much consistent?
I think so, and it's typical probably of the two cities. It's not that you'll only see conservative work here. I think there are groups, younger groups especially, different groups who are doing some interesting, innovative stuff, and that'll always happen. But in New York, you'll see a broader range. You'll see some stuff that'll just knock you out, drive you crazy. For good or bad. I mean, I directed a show this summer in July called Rodney's Wife, and it was written as a play without intermission. But as we got close, we saw this play is running an hour and 50 minutes. We think we should have intermission. We got permission from the playwright to add an intermission. But as we talked, we said, in New York, you can expect that. You'll go see a show and sit there for 2.5 hours, no intermission. It's just the way they're doing it. You got to expect that because folks want to push the envelope there a lot. They can do it a little bit here, but they're not going to get away with it much. You know, we do have audiences used to more traditional fare, and if you're going to come up with something different here, you better have the reason why you're doing it.
So I did go see a play in New York, and one of the things that I noticed is New York has a play district. They have they have a place. They've got off Broadway, they've got Broadway, and there's great restaurants. Like you said, within walking distance, you can walk to the restaurant, you park your car or take the train downtown. You go to a great restaurant, get something to eat. You go see your theater, and then you can have after dinner drinks. Do you think that hurts St. Louis?
Oh, of course it does. Yeah, of course. The closest we're getting, I mean, I think the Kranzbergs are trying real hard to do that, because right in the Grand Center area, there's like 3 small theaters, 2 of which I work at regularly, plus the Fox and the Symphony, and there's art places, Jazz St. Louis. There's the Grandel, but there's certainly not enough bar and food kind of services in the area. I think it's slowly developing, but we could use quite a few more to kind of try to get some of that energy. I mean, at one point we did get that energy. I don't know if you guys, did we talk about Music at the Intersection? That happened a couple of weekends ago. Man, that was a spectacular event with a lot of people, and a lot of people getting along really, really well. So it's possible here, but you got to offer the right stuff.
So do you think that that the theater industry in St. Louis would benefit from connections with other entertainment genres, such as, in this one case, it's music, maybe working with, there are several documentary companies here. Do you think collaborating with those guys might be help the theater industry here?
Oh, I think that would certainly be interesting. It would spread the dynamics and spread the awareness to different people. I've been looking closely since I've been working with some dance companies and watching them and having them work with us too. I mean, that's a serious thing I've been looking at is, collaboration with a dance company to tell a story that way. But on the other side, I am verging into that new cabaret kind of arena with shows for that, and that's certainly a music theater kind of a combination that's going to be kind of different, I think.
So, the question just popped into my head and popped right out of my head. What are alrighty? You got something to bail me out there, Warren?
Well, yeah, he just mentioned cabaret. So how would you describe the cabaret scene compared to what we have here?
Oh, I think there's active cabaret scene, certainly. I mean, Blue Strawberry leads it, but there's also cabarets presented at the Dark Room and some other spaces in town. There's a lot of singers, and they present their own shows. And then the cabaret, I mean, they do bring in a lot of folks from out of town to fill up the place at Blue Strawberry, but there's local folks too. But certainly at Blue Strawberry, there's a wide variety of shows, from local kind of things to national star performers coming in, comedians, magic, all kind of stuff. And so I think it's rolling along pretty nicely. And as folks continue to get out of the house, and I'm hoping they'll be drawn to some of those things as well.
Okay. So you've been doing this for 25 years. How many more?
Another 25 easily.
Okay.
Right.
So what are some of the goals for you and the production company as you continue to move forward?
I just hope folks come to see the work we do. That's really all I hope for. And people talk about support in the arts. I don't like the idea of that. I mean, people in the theater community, they might support their close friends in a play, but I don't really want people to support what I'm doing. I want them to come because it's good. I try to tell good stories and interesting stories, new stories. And so if anything, I mean, in terms of growth or, I would just hope more and more people kind of at least get the word about the shows we're doing and give them a shot.
Now remember the question that I had.
Okay.
And I will make this probably my last question.
Okay.
With the advent of the cell phone, live performances now have become recordable.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been a benefit to the performance arts, or is it something bad etiquette?
I think the only advantage phones have been to the theater community has been able to they've been able to take photos of productions that the theater companies that can then send out to the press. But I haven't seen any other. I'm sure that there have been some phone plays and little things people have tried, but other than other than as a prop in the play, or a sound effect in the play. The most effect phones have in theater is when we announce at the beginning of a show, "Hey, turn them off, everybody, turn them off," and
Right,
put
and
them away.
that's kind of
Yeah.
what I was talking about. Is
Yeah.
someone going to a play, you've worked real hard to put this production together. You want it's designed for live consumption, and now they're sitting in the back, taking pictures or taking video, and they're kind of sharing your work in a way that you didn't intend it to share.
That doesn't happen really too much,
Yeah.
and there's specific rules against it. If you're doing an equity production with equity actors, you cannot photo or you record. I mean, I think the only folks you'll really see in an audience who are trying to take pictures of a show while it's going on are mothers. To get their kids up there. I don't think anyone's trying to record the show. Of course, though, video did make a big impact on theater during the pandemic with the Zoom plays. But I think you'll find it very hard to find any theater people who say, "Yeah, I like Zoom plays." Those were just not. It's just not the right medium. That was neither fish nor fowl. It wasn't a movie. Wasn't a play. I don't know. I did a lot of them, but I don't know what they were.
Yeah,
All right.
well, we do have bootleg apps where people can watch movies where somebody's sitting
Oh
there
yeah,
with a camera.
yeah, no, yeah.
The video is crap though.
Yeah.
It's not right, and I wouldn't even enjoy it anyway. It's not
Yeah.
worth.
No, I one of the things people want to get into theater. There may be people that want to get into theater. What are some of the things that they should know about getting into theater, about being a part of the play community, and challenges and rewards?
Well, I think if anybody wants to get involved in theater in St. Louis, it's very easy. You just get in touch with somebody and say, "I want to help." Now, there are audition pages. There's a STL auditions, and then there's an audition page on Facebook where companies are looking for actors, looking for backstage. I saw on Facebook today someone say, "Hey, our show's starting. We're looking for ushers to volunteer." And that's a great way to start with theater if you don't quite know what to do, because you get to see theater for free. Because you're ushering for them. And I think that's one of the important things. If anybody wants to get involved with theater, it's getting involved with a company where you're comfortable and you kind of respect the people. But no matter what someone's looking to do, just get involved or act. Even if you start at a volunteer level, if you like the company, you find out when auditions are, you can go in and audition, and theater people are pretty good about helping you. If you're really getting started for the first time, if you've never done it before, theater people are pretty good about saying, look to do this, look to do that, try this kind of thing. But even if you're a first-time actor, there's plays that are, community theaters that are just looking for people. And if you're, you're a 6'4" man with white hair. Oh, we were looking just for you. Whether you've acted or not, you got a part.
Gotcha. Or if you're a smaller guy.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't keep your posture bad, and you might get cast.
Wow. Okay. There's hope for me then, huh?
Yeah, I think I think there's almost anybody could with the work and the right guidance can do something in a play, and can enjoy it and can feel good about what they're doing. It just takes it takes work and practice. That's all, just like anything else.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's about it. Leon,
I am done, Warren.
enjoyed the conversation with you, Joe. And once again, we appreciate your patience and coming back, and we wish you the best of success.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it, but hopefully we don't have to do this on a weekly basis.
Well, I was thinking,
But-
but,
But
somewhere
I
down.
would love to have you back again, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll love to come back. Anytime, especially when I get in these cabaret shows. I can't wait to talk about them. I can't talk about them now, but sometime.
When you get where you want to talk about it,
Yeah.
let us know, and we will definitely try to make a space for you here.
Excellent. Thank
We'd
you.
like to see St. Louis. We feature St. Louis artists because we know there's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of good music. There's a lot of good plays, a lot of good things to see in St. Louis. And we want to make sure that has a place. So if the St. Louis Today, the Post-Dispatch, and the Fox aren't ready to do it, then maybe it has to start from the ground up, and we'll get on their radar somehow.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot, Joe.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Take care, Joe.
See you later.
City Jazz Sessions is brought to you by St. Louis City Jazz, a 501c3 company dedicated to music education and appreciation. The CEO is Magic Man 50, and for more ways to connect with City Jazz Sessions, visit cityjazzsessions.wixsite.com/St. Louis. The City Jazz Sessions team includes host, content director, and guest coordinator, jazz great Ronnie Barrage. Follow Ronnie at ronniebarrage.biz. Host, website designer, graphic artist, content director, and guest coordinator, singing sensation LAKA. Discover more about LAKA at lakamusic.com. Additional production services are provided by Lions Den Productions. Go to thelionsdenstl.wixsite.com/home. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more great content.